Hello, hello, and welcome to another Joy of SharePoint webinar. I am Joy Apple, host today of the Joy of SharePoint. Today we're going to be talking about Teams. This whole webinar is going to actually be a spotlight on Teams, and we're going to talk about some of the big updates and additions to Teams that have come throughout the year. As you guys know me, we have the question panel inside of the webinar. If you have any questions, please do feel free to drop one in the question section. I am keeping an eye on that. And it is just me today. Usually I have someone hanging out helping to keep an eye on the question panel or to see if any of you all have questions or comments. I always welcome comments and feedback as we go. So please feel free to do that, but bear with me if I miss a question or a comment. Please feel free to repeat it. Something about it being, the holiday season and people taking time off or needing to prep for, what are you gonna do? But welcome. I hope you have some sort of caffeinated beverage in front of you. One of my must-dos in life is to always have caffeine readily available. And I always tell my students when I'm training, you can't do SharePoint without caffeine of some sort. And I feel that applies to Teams and pretty much any of the Office 365 collaboration suite. So with that said, we're a minute after. We've still got some people coming in, but I think it's safe for us to go ahead and get started with our spotlight on Teams. Again, thanks for being here, everyone. All right, so it is no surprise to us that are utilizing Teams or even keeping up with Microsoft 365 in general, that Microsoft releases features, functionalities, and updates fairly regularly. If you, like myself, have access to any of the admin centers in Microsoft 365 and you go and take a look at the message board, or if you weren't thinking one day and you did what I did and you went and you signed up to get emails for major change notifications, stuff's dropping all the time. It's very exciting and it's something I enjoy. I am a certified service adoption specialist, so I kind of enjoy change. I think it's fun and exciting. Teams has had a fun and exciting year. There have been updates to chat capabilities, both one-on-one, Teams, and group chat. There have been a lot of updates to meetings, what you can do in meetings and how to control meetings. And we've seen shifts come into Microsoft Teams. If you're not familiar with shifts, you may be familiar with Staff Hub. In fact, they've recently announced that Staff Hub is going to be retired soon. Shifts is going to be taking over that space, or has. It feels like it's catching on pretty well. So if your business or organization has what we refer to as first line workers, shift workers, people on a retail sales floor or a manufacturing floor, shop floor, this applies specifically to them and really comes in and fills this giant void that's been there for those folks for quite a while. And we're also going to look at live events as we go through the webinar. So let's just jump right in. Chat updates. There have been some big ones. I just called out a few. Announcements and banners is a big one. The ability to create an announcement inside of a team channel to really get people's attention. We can assign message priority now. Group chat has increased from 50 to 100. I've got that in the wrong line, don't I? We can post in multiple channels now. We can choose history to share with new participants. And in group chat, not only can we add people, which is kind of how we get a group chat, but we can also kick somebody out. We can remove people. Maybe I should say it that way. We can remove people. We don't kick people out, not ever. So we can make our group chat bigger or smaller, which is nice. You don't have to go create a brand new one. So let's just take a look over here at the announcements piece. So I've took a little screenshot of the little create a new announcement toolbar. So if you click on the little compose box, which is what they call that, I don't know what I would have called it before, but it is the compose box. You get your new message that opens up, and you've got a toggle, a little drop down where you can say you want to just start a new conversation or make an announcement. Get people's attention. Let them know it's a little bit more important. You're not just talking for the fun of it. So in your announcement, when you select that, this headline or banner section pops up. And you have the option, as you can see on the right-hand side of it, you could change the color of it or upload a banner or an image. So it's really whatever you prefer. I typically go with an image just because it's fun, but if we're in a hurry and really didn't want to put a whole lot of time into it, you could change the color to something less subtle than this kind of light blue. And then you just start typing. I have found if you do an image, the headline is optional, and I'll show you what that looks like in my next slide. But you have the ability to add that headline, a subheading, and then just start typing. The at mentions do work inside of the announcement. So you can at mention a team, a channel, individuals, whoever you need to focus this message on. So we go in there, you see my second image here. I did the banner, the attention. I'm not a subtle person. I like to get people's attention. So I went and found an attention banner because I really want people to see this. And the fact that it's bright, glaring red will definitely help that cause. And when we're there, we see the option to post in multiple channels. When I click that, a box pops up and I have so many options. It's really great. Not only can I choose to post in multiple channels, for instance, maybe this announcement that I'm making has to do with Project Excelsior's onboarding flow, but I want to make sure everyone is aware of it, not just the folks that are following the onboarding flow channel. So I could also choose to drop it in general or any of these channels that I think the majority of people will see it. Perhaps it's because while we were working on this onboarding flow, we found a new piece of flow or Power Automate functionality had been added, and we want to let everybody know. So I could also select a post to a channel in a totally different team. So maybe I want to let everybody at Pate Group know, hey, while we were working on this for Project Excelsior, yada, 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 one-stop shopping. So I can make people aware, but I don't have to double the work, which is fantastic because one of the things Teams is here to do for us is to streamline communication. So in being able to post in multiple channels simultaneously, we're really reducing the level of effort that's necessary to broadcast out to the rest of our team or teams, as the case may be. Nice little piece of functionality. All right. Chat history options. I like this. So let's say I've got my multi-person chat going on. Notice if you've ever created a group chat, you know, like maybe I was talking with Steven and we decided we needed to add Ashley and Ryan into the conversation. So I just go click that little add box and I start adding them in. So now the name of the group chat is Steven Wilson, Ashley Rogers, Ryan Keller. But if I go up and I click that edit button, I can name my group chat. So it can have specific names. It doesn't just have to be the people that are involved. I can pin that in my chat based on priority like I can my other one-on-one chats. And if we follow this image to the far right, you'll see next to the video, the call, and the share screen button, it's showing me the head count of how many people I've got in here. So if I click that, it'll show me the people and I'll have the option to add somebody else or remove someone. Like maybe Ashley's come in, she's done her part and she's like, okay, I'm out. You know, we can pull her back out of the chat. But if I wanted to add someone, I can start typing their name. You know, the people picker will find them. And I have options. I love options. So I can say, don't include chat history. Maybe there was some other stuff being talked about previously, it really doesn't involve them, what have you. Don't include chat history. So they just come in fresh chat. And it's kind of like Facebook. If we remove someone from the group, they don't know. If we don't show them the history, they don't know it's there, right? So it's not like they're wondering. They just started a new chat. I could choose to include history from a certain number of days. Maybe we want them to see everything that we've been talking about for the last week so they can get the backstory. I can absolutely do that. Or, I don't know what all we were talking about in here. Might be important, might not. There's nothing sensitive that they shouldn't know about. So I could include all of the chat history. And then they can come scroll and see all the funny GIFs, memes, and important, relevant work conversation that we've been talking about in the group chat. So aside from any updates, so again, group chat could go up to, I believe it's 100 people now. That's a large group, right? Group chat is really a great piece of functionality in general. If you've got a certain number of people that you need to communicate with as a whole, you don't really need a team, right? Because you're not actually working on a particular project, or you don't need the document management pieces that come with the SharePoint site, that comes with the team, and you're not needing Planner and Outlook and all that. You just need a place to talk with these people. Group chat is the way to do that. It's lightweight, it's easy, it's flexible, it's customizable. You can still share files. In fact, if you look at my group chat, I've got my chat section, there's files. So in group chat, just like one-on-one chat, OneDrive for Business will handle the file management. So anything shared from Stephen or Ashley or Ryan in this group chat, if I go to OneDrive on the web and I look at shared with me, I'll see those files there. Or I could go to my files tab in Teams to access them. OneDrive's going to handle that for me. And I can continue to add tabs. I can add tabs to this just like I could Teams chat inside of a channel. Great piece of functionality. Just thought I would throw that out for a value add. If you need a group to talk with but don't need all the overhead of a team, group chat is definitely the place to be. All right, moving on along here to meetings. I don't know about you guys, but there are days I feel like I don't get work done because all I do is sit in meetings. I don't know if anyone out there could relate to that in any way whatsoever. If I actually worked in a physical office with all my coworkers, I would definitely have the coffee mug that said I survived another meeting that could have been an email, right? We should probably update that mug to say, or a team chat. Because I think you can get a lot done in Teams above and beyond what we can do inside of email. Personal opinion, backed by personal experience. But meeting updates, background blur, and virtual or customizable backgrounds. Those of you that pay super close attention to the updates may call me out here. I am cheating just a little bit. Blur was actually dropped in late September of 2018, but my tenant didn't get it till early this year. So I'm counting it because it's my webinar and I get to count it. So I'm counting it. But full disclosure, that was actually released in 2018. Backgrounds still haven't dropped, but they are quote unquote coming soon. Meetings, move from the meetings tab to the calendar tab. Well, many of us were waiting for that to happen and so thrilled to have the calendar right there inside of Teams. We can schedule meetings from any device, and I've got a little demo of that. Meeting controls have been consolidated, and we can now share sound from media that we're playing during a meeting, which is fantastic. So background blur, I appreciate this quite a lot. So I was fiddling around with it yesterday, and notice when you join, and some of you have probably noticed that at first, when Teams is getting to know you and getting to learn your preferences, it will volunteer to turn that webcam on every time. Personally, I find that a little intimidating. But when you do, start to join a meeting and you want your webcam on so it can be a virtual face-to-face meeting, you have the option to blur your background. And I love that option because my office is not particularly gorgeous. I've got a really old outdated ceiling fan up here. So when I turn my blur background on, who knows? Nobody can tell. Is that a pile of laundry sitting on her couch that she didn't fold yesterday? Or is that just something that's blurred in the background? Nobody knows, right? That is invaluable for those of us that not only work from home or are remote workers, but need to take a call from a hotel, a weird office in somebody's basement. So I've actually done that. I taught once for a week in a basement at a steel manufacturing facility. It wasn't gorgeous. It was fine. It was dark, but that blur background came in handy for a web call. The ability to add the custom background is coming, and you'll be able to switch out various backgrounds, conference rooms. I think there's a beach scene, a really fancy boardroom. So that is coming soon. And I have also heard there is such a thing as a snap filter for Teams that could, I mentioned at a SharePoint Saturday recently, for me, the dream would be to have like my Instagram filters so I can look like I have makeup on for a web call, even if I don't. And I've heard that's a thing. So I can neither confirm nor deny, but I've heard that's a thing. Maybe one day I'll actually Google it and see if it's real. That'd be a whole other kind of webinar. All right. Meetings are now in the calendar tab. So the meeting tab was renamed to calendar. We have full view of our Outlook calendar inside of Teams. I love that. I have the option, as you can see on the far right, to choose from day, week, work week. I keep it on work week. That's my personal preference. Fantastic though, and I have a date selector. So I can go forward, go backwards, really is a great tool. From the calendar, I can meet now and dial people in ad hoc, or I can schedule a new meeting. Speaking of scheduling a new meeting, I did a little, it's still on laser pointer, let me get off that. So I did a little screen record of scheduling a new meeting, and Stephen interrupted me. So you can schedule meetings on the go from the Teams mobile app. Just type the name or the email if it's an external person. You can see their free time. Choose the day, just like you would inside of the Apple app. Oh, and it's a little slow. Notice you can see the free times here as well. So some really good options when you are creating a meeting on the go. And honestly, I probably use this, I mean, it might be a lie if I said daily, but almost daily. I schedule meetings from the mobile app. You can even share those to a channel. If everyone in a particular channel needs to be a part of that, you can host that meeting right inside the channel. Choose the time. And within moments of creating this meeting from the Teams mobile app, it does sync right up to your Outlook calendar. And of course, then good old-fashioned Outlook functionality. I could join from Outlook, I can join from Teams. It's my choice. Great little piece of functionality. Slightly off topic, but related. If you haven't checked out the Outlook mobile app, I would encourage you to do so. Due to some authentication issues, not issues, it felt like an issue that day, increased security. I have started using the Outlook mobile app instead of the default Apple Mail app, since I have an iPhone, right? At first I did it very begrudgingly until I found out how much is built into it now. The old experience, a few years back, I found it rather clunky, but if you're like me and you're on the go quite a bit, having that mobile capability is fantastic. Typically, I don't remember to turn on my out of office until I'm about to actually get on an airplane. So it's nice from the airplane to be able to log into that mail app and go set my out of office. Very nice. Schedule meetings in there, and it's got the drag and drop. So as you set your time, you then touch it and then drag it and drop it on the time on the particular day you want it to be. Me being a very visual person, that's fantastic because I can't remember what my availability is between switching screens. It's gone, it's out of my head. So that's a nice little piece of functionality. So I would encourage you, if you are an on-the-go guy or gal, I encourage you to take a look at that, the newer Outlook mail application. It's fantastic. Okay, there's my plug. We'll keep talking about meetings. So, you guys are quiet today. You're drinking eggnog, sitting by a fire. Is it snowing for anyone? I think it's going to be 60 degrees in Tulsa on Christmas, so we will not be having a white Christmas. All right, meeting controls. The way I found out that meeting controls had moved, because I didn't read the announcement and I didn't see the email hit my inbox, I joined a meeting and there were no longer the little bubbles in the upper right-hand corner that I was used to seeing to see my attendees and to get to chat. They were no longer up here. So again, if that was your experience, you probably started scrambling, clicking around going, how do I do this? How do I do that? Where did my controls go? So they have all been consolidated to the meeting control bar. So we've got the nice little timer for our meeting. Again, turn on, turn off the webcam, mute, unmute. All that was already here along with the share screen. But under the consolidated menu or the more menu, if you're familiar with SharePoint, then you know every time you see 3 dots, click it because you can do more stuff. So under more, you'll have device settings. You can switch into full screen mode. I love full screen mode. So that way if someone's displaying from a teeny tiny monitor, you can get a bigger picture of it. Background blur options are there, start, stop, your calling keypad, all that good stuff. In fact, when I click it, like the device settings, so let's say your Bluetooth headset is not cooperating with Teams, you can go into your device settings and kind of fiddle with it to get things working again. Here's where you'll enter your full screen. If you're in full screen, you just hit escape and it puts you back in your regular view. Dialing keypad, video blur, all that's consolidated right here under the more menu. And let's talk for a minute about sharing your desktop. I've got that in the other image on the slide. I find this throws people because you click that button and you got a whole lot of other buttons you can click. So I just want to step through that with you. If you've not started using Teams for meetings, this could be a time insanity saver for you. So when I go to share my desktop, Teams opens up the share tray. I don't know if that's the official terminology. That's what Joy of SharePoint calls it. I have the option to include my system audio or not. I never remember to click that, but it would probably be nice so people couldn't hear my reminders and my incoming emails. Desktop. Do you want to show everything that's on your desktop? If you have multiple screens going, it'll ask you which screen you want to display from. If I choose not to do that and I go with window, it'll look at what I've got open in my taskbar. Do you want to share Snagit? Did you want to share your calendar? Did you just want to share Teams, right? What do you want to share? If I choose a window and then I go, so maybe I start with a browser window and I've got SharePoint site in it and I'm trying to do some troubleshooting. And they're like, well, this is the error that pops up. And if that opens in another window and they drag it over, can't see it. Only see what the person chose to display. So if that's a browser window with their SharePoint homepage in it or document library, doesn't matter what else you bring into the your screen that's got the red outline on it. The person on the other end of Teams will only see that original window. Same goes with PowerPoint. Teams loves PowerPoint. So It will actually let you browse through your PowerPoint presentations to find the particular one. But if you wanted to switch from PowerPoint and go do a live demo inside of Chrome or Firefox, they won't see it. They'll only see PowerPoint. Personally, the way I handle this is, if there's stuff open on my desktop before I know I'm going to be sharing my screen and I don't want other people to see it, I close it and I share my desktop. That way I can bounce around anywhere I need to go, and I don't have to worry about folks not being able to see what I'm displaying. So I hope that helps. I've just noticed a lot of the clients that I work with are typically relatively new to Teams, right? So it's a new experience. Looks very different than Skype nowadays, especially since they've consolidated the meeting controls into the bar. Originally, they had been kind of where they were in Skype. So just FYI, if you want to be able to move around and choose what you share at a given point in time, just go ahead and go with desktop. That'll be the way to go. All right, any questions out there? Everybody hanging in? We doing good? All right. Shifts. This is replacing Staff Hub. I believe Staff Hub is being retired in 2020. Double check me on that because I did not write that down and have it in front of my face. But it is available on mobile, as you can see from the screenshot, and in the desktop client, web, desktop app, whichever you prefer. So Shifts is intended for managing first line worker schedules. You can create, update, manage shifts and schedules, again, from mobile, from the desktop, from the web application. Employees can get to it, see their shifts, and then there are options for them to swap shifts, grab open shifts. There's some out there that anyone can pick up, do time off requests. It's a really great piece of functionality. I'll tell you, I did my time in retail many years ago. Of course, this is way before smartphones. So the idea of something like this was completely foreign. I mean, we were fancy if we used email, right? Let's be real. But my mother-in-law works in retail. She has a part-time job and deals with sales and all that fun stuff. I've literally seen her pull out a piece of paper from her purse and go, okay, this is the schedule they gave me yesterday. I think I have these days off next week, but I heard it might change, right? You're trying to schedule something. She's like, well, I've got this piece of paper. This is what they gave me, and this is what I think it's going to be. I don't know about you all, but I would die if I had to live my life that way because I'm used to being able to go to my calendar on my phone or my computer, regardless of where I am or what day it is, and be able to see what I'm doing, what I'm going to be doing. To live by, this might change, but all I've got today is a piece of paper. I don't know that I could go back to that. Being able to take those schedules and make them live and accessible for those retail workers, first line workers, manufacturing workers, that's huge. Not only does it make their life easier and better, even gives them a sense of control, but just think of the cost savings and not having to print out pieces of paper and manage schedules by email over and over and over again. So a lot of efficiency to be gained here and a lot of accessibility, which I think is really important. You know, in my retail days in my late teens, early 20s, I had no expectation of accessibility, right? That didn't exist in the 90s. Today it does. I think it's important, and I commend Microsoft for addressing it. So if you've never poked around at shifts, I'll be real, I hadn't much either until I decided it was something we needed to talk about today. So you go into shifts first, you click your little more button on your left rail of Teams, and you have your other apps that you can use, one of which is Shifts. From there, you open up to your shifts. You can see all schedules. This was pretty blank because this was one for one particular group or team, right? Based off of an Office 365 group. If I want to create a new one and browse my teams, I go down to the bottom of the screen and click New Schedule, and that will let me browse through the teams that I'm an owner of to create a schedule for them. Once that happens, I'm kind of put inside of a calendar view, and I can create groups, like maybe opening shift, closing group, maybe by the equipment that needs to be used and run at certain times, however that scheduling may shake out. One thing that I personally found to be not super intuitive, so I added myself and good old Bob the user here. I kind of wanted to be able to click on me to add a shift or see a create shift and then choose the employee. That was not the case, but if I went down on my calendar and I chose a day and a time slot on my line, then I was adding the shift for me or for Bob. So that's how that works. Again, that didn't feel super intuitive for me, but once I got into the habit and kind of figured out what was going on, it made way more sense. So once you add the shift, you come in and create it, put the time frame, you can add a label to it. Any notes that the employee needs to be aware of can be added, and you start to build out their schedule. Now, you don't have to start from scratch. They do have an import from Excel functionality as well, and it's a nice little spreadsheet with some instructions. Excel and I don't speak the same language, so I fiddled around with it a little bit, kind of read through the instructions, got the gist of it. But you follow those instructions and it gives you a sample schedule that you can then import. Nice little piece of functionality. Or if you notice, on my little new shift or new schedule button, there's a copy. You can copy shifts and give them to other people, paste them to other employees. So a lot of different ways to go about building out your schedules and your shifts. And just like Teams in general, it is mobile. So I was in this group chat with Ashley and Steven, and if you're in a chat or in a team, you won't see the little pop-up menu, but if you go out of those, you'll see you just pull up from that bar. It's basically the equivalent of the more menu on the left rail on your desktop. And you'll see shifts is here. And there's that one little shift I created for myself. So I can open that up, see any of the information that was input. And when I'm on the screen too, I see it's from 8 to noon, when it is, Project Excelsior, so that's the team it was created for. And then the job is ticket coverage. I could offer to swap. So maybe Steven's gonna do 12 to 4. But man, I really need to do 12 to 4 tomorrow. I can't do 8 to 12. So I could do swap and go select an employee to swap with, or I could offer it up. Hey, anybody want to take this shift? Back when I waited tables, you just run around back in the kitchen going, can anyone cover for me? You want to trade? You want to do this or that? Now we have a digital equivalent of it built inside of Teams. And so it's just looking at the details of that shift. And then have requests. Oh, I clicked the wrong button. That's fun. So up at the top here, it has requests. So when you click requests, it will pull you in to a schedule change. By clicking the plus sign, you can add a request for either time off or to change the time on your schedule. So request time off, swap, or offer up your shift. So that has some great functionality for those scheduled, hourly, first line workers out there. I can see this taking off quite a lot. I know some folks that are looking at doing shifts because they do blood drives. So they want to incorporate this for scheduling the volunteers for manning the booths and the vans and all that when they do blood drives. I think that's pretty fantastic. So I'm sure we're going to see more features and functionality coming for shifts throughout 2020. Okay. Live events is next. So this is pretty exciting. We are still looking to be able to get better metrics for events such as this to start doing the webinar as live events, and I can't wait for that day. So what it is a video and meeting broadcasting capability. There are several roles involved with producing and presenting a live event. You have the organizer, producer, presenter, and then of course the attendees. Stream is absolutely a vital part of live events. There is QA functionality for the attendees, and then the producer and organizer have access to usage reporting after the event. So for the roles, the organizer, of course, we know this from any type of committee we've ever been on, the organizer has the biggest role, right? They create the event, schedule, work with the attendees, assign permissions to producers, presenters, the attendees. They configure the event options, you know, who's going to be the moderator, is there going to be QA, how's that going to be handled? The producer is the one that can start and stop the event, can share their video and participate in the stream share. They can also select the layout of how it's going to be viewed by attendees. The presenter has some similar roles to the producer, but it's not quite as in depth. They can present their media, they can moderate and participate in the QA. And then of course the attendees, it's going to be that listen only mode and the QA capabilities. So to schedule a live event, you would go to your team's calendar, and instead of doing a new meeting, you would just click that little drop down and choose new live event. At that part, you know, scheduling the time, the date, and all that fun stuff works almost the same as scheduling a meeting for work. But instead of inviting attendees, at this point, you're inviting your producers and your presenters, and you're assigning those roles. You would not want to bring attendees in at this point, just producers and presenters. And you have options. So once you pick your presenters and your producers, you come in and say, okay, is this only for people of this particular group? Is this going to be for everybody in the organization? Or am I going to choose to make this public where anyone can join without having to log in? Oh, I have a question about shifts, Darlene. I will switch right back over to that in just a minute. Once we've decided how we're going to produce the live event in Teams, is it going to be public? Is it going to be a group? Is it going to be the whole org? You hit schedule, and then it pops up a box with a link that you send out to the attendees. So it's like one extra step to scheduling a meeting. So I snagged this little table of producing and presenting roles from this great article, Get Started with Microsoft Teams Live Events. And it does have the breakdown of what the producer does, what the presenter does, and this great little screenshot of how the live event actually looks. I have been at SharePoint Saturday events where one of the attendees had some issues with international travel, but she kept the event going and just broadcast it as a live event. And it went really well. It was very cool. Food for thought on live events. So one of the things I get to do with Pate Group and for my clients is help organizations create communication plans and timelines for deployment planning. And I am all about communication. Communication and training are two of the biggest pieces of any kind of deployment if you want to have greater user adoption and success. Let people know what's happening and then teach them how to use what you're giving them, right? Teams in general, but specifically Teams live events, are a fantastic tool for communicating to the business or the organization why things are changing and how. So if you're looking to roll out teams and you've got a C-level champion or a higher management champion that's like, yes, I am behind teams, this is going to be great for everybody, you know, insert excited sentence here, right? Getting them on a live event, putting that in front of people to see, oh, this guy, this lady, this person, they're an authority in the company, they have a level of respect, they're using it, they're talking to us, they're engaging with us. And I've seen one where they did a live event and they actually held up their phone that had Teams on it, and they were showing how they use chat to, instead of email, to communicate quickly inside the organization. It shows engagement. It shows usage of the tool. It shows that the initiative isn't just something that IT decided we needed to do, that it actually has support from high up and in the middle as well. And it starts to introduce the capabilities that these tools are going to have once they roll out. So it really is a win-win. And the last thing I'll say on meetings is, of course, we cannot forget Whiteboard. Whiteboard has been added to meetings. This is one of the newer updates for meetings. So if you go to share Whiteboard, and this is still rolling out, not 100% of the tenants I've seen have Whiteboard show up. One of mine does and one of mine doesn't. So if it's not there for you, it's coming, air quotes, soon. But when you're sharing Whiteboard, all attendees can ink on the surface, which could be fun. You can share ideas, brainstorm. Once the meeting has wrapped, that is available to anyone that was in the meeting. And I am going to embarrass myself. The number one thing I would use Whiteboard for, since I do a lot of architecture diagrams, would be to draw it right there for everyone that's watching. I have horrible handwriting, and we all know writing on a screen doesn't make your handwriting look any better. You can change, the ink of what you're using, and you don't have to have a fancy Surface pen or a stylus. You can use your finger on your touch screen to do that. Or if you're super brave, probably could use your mouse. I haven't tried. The big thing to be aware of right now, if you record your meetings for reference, the playback of the Whiteboard is not there. They're working on that being a piece of functionality that's included, but it's just not quite ready for that level of prime time yet. But super happy to see Whiteboard be part of Teams meetings, especially when I'm on site with clients and we're drawing on the whiteboard. This way, the folks that are dialed in on the phone can be part of that too. So I'm really thrilled that's available. All right. So Darlene is saying what would be cool for shifts would be to be able to embed the calendars read-only to non-members of the team in a SharePoint site. Ooh, yes. So there would be a greater level of visibility, maybe for shared resources. Yes, you're absolutely correct. That would be really good. You should submit that on the user voice as an idea for shifts. There's, I'm going to say, a high chance a clever developer could do that in a SharePoint framework web part, but those developers can be expensive sometimes. So I don't know how long that would take to come to fruition. That would be super cool. All right, we're approaching the wrap up of this webinar. I didn't want to take a lot of your time because, again, we are approaching the holidays, and I know there is stuff to do. But I do want to make you aware, I've been getting some requests lately to know where I'm going to be for my next speaking engagement. As of right now, I'm going to be in San Diego for the Office 365 Saturday. That is on January the 25th. And then February, I will be in St. Louis at the SharePoint Saturday St. Louis. There's a couple other conferences that I've submitted for, so I will be posting on Twitter. Of course, I'm all over Twitter usually. where I'm going to be when. If you're ever at a SharePoint Saturday or Office 365 Saturday, please, please, please let me know. Come to Houston 0365 Saturday. Darlene, I'll have to look into that. You would think it would be easier to get to Houston considering I'm just in Oklahoma, but Texas is a big state, girl. It's a long way away. But yes, I will be looking into that. I'll keep you posted. And that said, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for joining. As a gift from us to you, if you are interested in going to the North American Collaboration Summit, that is coming up first week of April. It is in Branson, Missouri. And if you use Pate Group 50, you will get $50 off your registration. Now, if you've never been to the North American Collaboration Summit, we used to call it SharePoint-A-Loozа. But it is a fantastic conference. It's smaller than like Tech Fest or SharePoint Fest, and it's also a lot less expensive. So if you're thinking in your mind, like I did the first time years ago, $50, big deal. That's a meal. What's that going to get me? If you look at the price, and I don't have it in front of me, but that $50 off will actually go quite a long way. I promise. All right. Happy holidays to everyone. I'm going to hang on the line in case anyone has any questions. Darlene, appreciate you chiming in and your input. You really should submit that idea to the user voice. That's a fantastic idea. All right, I'm going to go on mute. I'm going to stop recording. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to chime in. Other than that, please do have a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. We'll see you in 2020.